Hello, everyone. This is Klacsanzky again, and we're going to do another webinar. And this webinar is called Style or Vile. And if you guys don't know what vile means, it means something that's gross, disgusting, something that you don't want to have. So style, something cool. Vile is like, yeah. So yeah, that was a good rhyme, something catchy. So yeah, as we usually do, I'm gonna do a little presentation here, and then we're gonna go into examples. And then after that, if the people have questions, we can type it in and I'll answer them after the presentation. So, okay, I'll get right to the bat. Being concise. So a really good thing for style is being concise. And by being concise, I mean having every word necessary. So cut what doesn't matter. If you think it's unimportant, then there's no reason for it to be there. So as an editor, we have this term we use, kill your babies, which sounds really dramatic, but what it essentially means to kill your babies means the words that you may like or that you think are wonderful but are unnecessary, you have to cut. Even if you think they're wonderful, cute, or whatever. It's kind of like killing your babies, because writing something is kind of like having your own child. Like a story, a poem is kind of like your own child, and you care for it like your own child. So they give that metaphor sometimes. This is a very good question. Can you say it in a more direct, simplified way? And a lot of students struggle with this because they grew up believing that the most dramatic, the most academic, most textbook sounding writing is better, and they forget to communicate with the writers. And a lot of times, if you just write something in a more simplified manner, it's better. In a more direct manner, it's better. So you don't have to be fancy. You don't have to write like you're from the Romantic era. You just try to communicate your message. So here's another big one. Delete any repeating information or words. So if you're repeating yourself or you're repeating information, even in a subtle way, you need to delete it. Of course, some teachers are sticklers for repeating information just to pound the head of the reader to remind them what the concept is about or the main idea is about. So, it really depends on your teacher, but, in the best of worlds, you would delete all the information that's repeating or the words that are repeating. So just keep that in mind, but follow your teacher's instructions. Okay. Are you adding too many action words? And by action words, I mean verbs and adjectives. So are you adding too many words that are just kind of like fluff? Do you really need them there? Like sometimes people just add a bunch of like exciting words, try to vamp up the writing. But what it actually does is slow down the pace a lot and make the readers confused, or they feel like they're reading a novel instead of an essay. So you don't want to get into that. This is my favorite, probably, is about cliches. Cliches are everywhere. It's mostly in common speech, and if we put them in essays, it's usually incorrect. And by cliches, I mean, by the way, as per the standard, phrases like that. Of course, sometimes you can avoid them. They're just like there. They fit sometimes. They just fit. But if you can't avoid them because you're trying to write in a natural way, in an interesting way. If you write with cliches, what happens to the reader's brain is it just kind of flies through their brain because they've heard the phrase a billion times. When you write in a more natural way, it sticks to some of the brain more. I'm not a scientist, but that's my theory. Okay, so another stylistic thing is being specific. So you need to add details, enough detail to not make your writing vague. And we'll get to this point down here Also, I'll just get to it now. If you add too much detail, also that is a wrong thing, because writing is about pace, as I mentioned before. So if you add too many details, your writing is stuffed and fat with a bunch of stuff that is actually slowing your reader down, and they don't even get to the main point because it's just too much stuff. So you have to have a balance of detail. You just have enough detail so that the reader and the writer knows exactly what they're reading and writing about. So you do not want to be vague. If you're vague at any point, I'm almost 100% sure that your teacher will mark you up. So the clarity of details is also important. Um, Sometimes you're going to have details and they're not the exact word, the exact phrase, excuse me. So you really have to choose the right word. That doesn't mean going through the thesaurus and finding the most extravagant, amazing word you can find, but it means find the exact word that's needed. So I forget there's a Mark Twain quote about this. It's something about a ladybug and lightning. Look it up. Okay. Um, so the more specific you are, the more value you add to your content. So it's just like putting money in the bank. Detail is money. So in your writing and essays. So, but as I said, you don't want to be too rich in your writing. If your writing is too rich, you're going to slow down your readers and make them get bored. All right. And just to reiterate, do not put in too much detail and do not put too little detail. Okay. So another thing that's really important in style is being varied. And this happens a lot with students where they start a sentence the same way over and over again, use the same transitions over and over again. As an editor, it makes me go crazy sometimes when I see repeating phrases over and over again. I just feel like I'm dying a slow death. So, you know, this is a little bit more advanced, but it's usually not good to start with sentences like first, second, third. Try to make it more organic, more natural, taking information from the previous paragraphs to lead in, instead of just writing a cookie cutter thing. But besides that, it's just you don't write a sentence, so, comma, like every sentence with so or however, therefore gets really on the writers and readers' nerves. So now by varying sentence structures, I mean small and long sentences. You need to have a balance of both, because some people will write only small sentences, or someone will write only long sentences, and usually they become run-ons, which is also quite bad. So another point too is format. A lot of times we'll see the same format over and over again. Remember, you don't always have to write a 5-paragraph essay. If your teacher allows you to write a different type of essay, if you have some freedom in that, go for it. Find what's best for your content, not what you have used as a template. So once again, you have to find the exact word. You have to find the exact format for your content. So yes, this last point, we talked about that. So as you can see, there's kind of like a theme going on here. We have to have balance, and a lot about style is having balance, because without balance, your style is extreme, and you don't want your style to be extreme. That's when you get marked down for points. Okay, so you got to be original. So you don't have to write like a robot. You can write more like you talk. But I note here, but without the mistakes. And in most cases, slang. Okay, so you won't be like, yo, Abraham Lincoln was bowing on, you're not going to write that. But you can write in a more simplified manner, as I mentioned before. When you're writing an essay, you are writing an academic paper, but you don't have to pretend to be a double PhD scholar in it, and you use a bunch of fluff words and the thesaurus all the time. You know, you shouldn't be like best friends with your thesaurus or dictionary and be using that for every word or something. George Bush, the president, said he got through college like that. He's George Bush. So you guys are not George Bush. You don't got a super rich dad, president dad. So you got to work it out yourself. You got to check if your writing is enjoyable and personable. This is a really super important one as well, because if you're reading an essay and you feel like you're reading a textbook, that's already a nightmare. If you're reading an essay and it sounds like a robot, they just want to put down the essay. So there's no point to write an essay that sounds like a robot could have written it. You want to sound like relatable in your essay. If someone is reading it and they feel like, oh yeah, I can relate with that person, or I feel that I am similar to that person, that is a good sign. All right, so be passionate. And passionate, in this sense, does not mean romantic, okay? Passionate means being interested and intrigued about it and showing that in your writing. So dry writing makes for a bored reader. Okay, we kind of mentioned that before about not writing like a robot. But in dry writing, I mean, when they take out all the verbs, when they take out all the kind of more imaginative part of writing, you can put little parts of bits and pieces of imagination in your essay. You don't have to write a poem, of course, but you can make it at least marginally exciting, okay? But also, you don't have to put exclamation marks. I've seen writers who put exclamation marks throughout their writing just to make it exciting, supposedly, but actually it's one of those signs of amateur writers who just put exclamation marks in place. But you want to show your excitement for the topic in your writing. It's like when a reader reads your essay or paper or any piece of writing, they should get a feeling, an energy back from it that you're excited about the topic, and the reader should be too. Okay. So, and one of the best ways to do that is to go deep into your subject, because anytime you go deep into a subject, you're going to find something interesting about it, and you want to reveal that interesting thing to the readers, and your enjoyment of that research will come through in that writing. So, of course, if you write a very vague and cursory essay, you're going to end up with some boring content, because it's just going to be like one year out the other. They're not going to care, because they're like, I can know that in 10 minutes by looking at Google. So you want to really dig deep into your subject, bring out something new and fresh, or at least something really interesting about your subject. And you're ready to go, wow, I didn't know that. I want to look into that further. So yeah, that will really increase your stylistic points if you can go deep in your subject and show something interesting about it. All right, we are done with the PowerPoint. Now I got some examples. I hope you all can see this. I put up to 15 font. I'm going to blast it up to 20 font. Okay. So these are some examples. I've just underlined the problem points. All things considered, this kind of phrase, as I said, is a cliche. And you can just delete that sucker right out and just find a sentence with that. So here, Smith College, which was founded in 1871. This part, it's not terrible. It's not bad even, but it can be simplified. Founded in 1871, Smith College is the premier all-women's college in the United States. So as you can see, that sentence is a little bit longer, and you can shorten it and make it more simple. Okay. Here is a being specific example. In the country, wherever that is, people are prosecuted daily. Okay, it's a decent sentence. It doesn't really say much though. So here we go. In the United States, Black Americans, so we specify that, are prosecuted unfairly for crimes on a regular basis. So that's much more detailed. Here's another example. I had a great day because I shopped. Okay, that's interesting a little bit, but we can make it a little bit more interesting. Today, I bought the new purple denim jean from Gap, and they fit my waist so well. It's great to finally find pants that feel snug around my waist. All right. Hey, I know I'm a guy, but shopping is not bad. I can write about shopping. Okay, so being varied. Here's some examples. Nick was a good kid. He often walked home from school. He never turned in his homework late. He was on honor roll. And if you guys don't know what honor roll is, it's in America, it's being on like a select roll company of kids who are awesome in school. So we can change it around to make the sentence structure a little bit more flexible. Nick was a good kid. He walked from home. We get that colon there. It's very important. He walked from home to get exercise and never turned in his homework late. Not only that, but he was on honor roll. So as you can see, it's not all just short sentences. We got a long sentence and we got a medium sentence going here. All right. So here's another varied example. So genetic mutation, blah, blah, blah. As you can see, we have another so here. Like I said, if you keep beginning with the same transition, it becomes really tedious. So here, as you can see, we've deleted that repeating transition and just made it one sentence, much more compact. So being original. By a long shot, he didn't come up with the right money. So those are two cliches right there. You don't want to use two cliches in one sentence. Maybe one cliche if you're lucky. So you can just simply say he was unable to provide enough money. So yeah. Now here's you shall gather the members to court and stroll through the thistles. Okay, so my solution there is, come on, we don't live in the Victorian era anymore. Okay, so we don't use shall and stroll. Stroll is more prosaic anyways. I mean, sorry, for fiction. So yeah. And it's, I would say it's an older style word. People don't use that often anymore. Okay, being passionate examples. Here's kind of a boring sentence. The correlating circumstance that brought Anderson to be convicted was his robbery of the state bank. So there's a little bit more vamped up. The event that brought Anderson to justice was his poorly planned robbery of a state bank. Not exciting, but it's a little bit more catchy. So I enjoyed tennis more than other sports. There's strategy and accuracy. It's kind of a dull sentence. I mean, something a robot could say. Here's something more human. Tennis is the greatest sport there is, in my opinion. Deep strategy and super accuracy make it an enthralling sport to watch. Sounds like someone's opinion. Human opinion. So yeah, there you go. We went over the presentation, went over some examples, and it's about 20 minutes in, so right about the right time. And I see we got no questions typed in, so I guess we'll see you next webinar. Bye-bye.